As long as they live there, you see, there is no problem, nothing happens. That's why monetization, monetization not necessarily lead to a disaster. No, true, it doesn't. But every single experience we have says that when it goes on for a while, it does, because people look at their checking account and say, wait a second, there is no damn income coming tomorrow, and there is a lot of money in the thing, and there's not a lot of income today. I better go buy those shoes before the price goes up. Because I have a lot of cash that I don't need. People have just stuffed tons of cash in my pocket. I don't own investment to tomorrow anymore, nothing. All I have is cash, and I want to spend it. That's when you have a problem. When people say, let me use the claims on current income that the government has promised to me are effective to buy current income. Understand the notion of buying current income? If you're not an economist, you understand, people would say, what are you talking about? When you go buy, you buy current income. When you go buy a mozzarella or a Coke, or the train, or you know, your pizza tomorrow with your friends, you're buying current income, right? And you're buying it in the form of supply, and you are in the form of demand. But national income accounting tells us they are the same thing, right? And if the claim on current income get out of proportion with current income, actual produced current income, only one thing can happen: price goes up. All right? Now remember, that depends. Expectation here play a very clear role. What this central bank is doing play a role, and what this government is doing play a role. But that's what monetary arithmetic is. Okay? It's a matter of balance sheet. Notice that it works perfectly well, in fact, with a theory of money that one would call chartalist or institutionalist. In fact, it works perfectly well, and I believe it works much better in this form than any other form. Certainly it doesn't work with the coconut theory of money, right? In the coconut theory of money, this thing does not even, it's not even possible. You see what I mean? In the coconut theory of money, there's no central bank per se. There are these guys, maybe they're not even that. In the coconut theory of money, I just have coins and you got pizzas. And I come with coins and you give me the pizza, and then with your coins you go buy your vegetables. That's the theory. Okay? Now let me quickly give you an historical perspective of that, and try to also suggest that having not only the institutional theory of money makes sense from an historical and an anthropological perspective. That is, that's how money came around, that's how public debt came around. It is actually the way it happened. Every recorded piece of history says, yeah, that's what happened. Okay? But it also makes, and this I'm becoming a bit Hayekian or Hegelian, depends. It looks like that the real is rational, in the sense that, to me, the more I think of it, there is, for bad that all these stories are, and all the blood and all the stuff, there is a form of social rationality in it. Okay? Let me try to tell you why. I do only the part money. I don't have time, nor I have the appropriate model elegant enough to do the part debt, even if I think that this is also for public debt. But think of the part money. You guys know what the one sector model works, right? Our basic growth model. We all saw it already in class. You saw it in some macro class for business. So think at that model in a very simple form. Okay? And actually, think of that model in the perfect market situation, complete Eurasian market, which is to say that there is a benevolent planner. Okay? So let's take that model in an ideal way and see what happens in that model, you know, when things that are impossible become possible. Given that I like to teach by metaphor, I'd like you to think of this as a small agrarian economy, where this is wheat. So how does it work? The night before, so this is for tomorrow, right? But yesterday, we put the seed in the ground. That's our investment. Okay, it's sunk. Then, during the night, the weather came. That's a shock, unpredictable. Shock, good weather, bad weather, good rain, bad rain, you know. In the morning, shock was realized we went to higher labor. Labor is supplied in elastically like that, leisure function, okay? So depending on how good the night was, I hired a lot of labor or little labor, okay? Paid it the marginal product, okay? That gave me output. In this community, we also have a granary. Part of the stuff produced yesterday, so now I'm talking about Ethier, we did not eat, nor we use it to seed. We store it for security. If the weather is very bad, maybe we get no output tomorrow. If we put it in the granary, it's a safe technology. It's not very productive. R is very small, maybe even zero. Maybe it will be negative. You know, like the interest rate on German bonds or Danish bonds may even be negative. But it's better to have something rather than nothing when you are in troubles, right? See what I mean? It's just safety, okay? If I am exposed. So that was my decision. Now I work during the day, now it's night again. This is the total output available. And again, the agrarian community does the usual thing. Decide how much to put in the granary, how much to invest, and how much to consume. If you write down the first order condition for this, what is that you have? You have the intertemporal condition, which are very easy, right? Margin to your consumption today is equal to the expected value now of either the payoff from this or the payoff for that multiplied margin to your consumption tomorrow, right? So there are two conditions, right? And then one multiplies ZT plus 1 dF in dKT plus 1, and the other multiplies 1 plus R. Right? That's the intertemporal portfolio condition. It's CAPM, right? It's CAPM. Risky, safe. And then there is the intratemporal condition that says the marginal disutility of labor, right? That's a negative number, has to be compensated by its marginal productivity. Which is a function of ZT and KT. Okay? So that's efficiency. When I wake up in the morning and I look at the weather, blah, 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 I check how much there is to do on the field, and I say, oh guys, today, fantastic harvest, let's come work a lot because productivity is high. Instead, oh my God, everything froze. All right, take a rest, only a few people working, all right? So that's efficiency.
Stupid question, sorry, inside the brackets, so U prime of CT.
There are two equations.
Either.
Well, there's also a delta to tell you the truth, but yeah. Right, the two assets, one has that payoff and one has this payoff, right? Expected value actually, well, expected value is because this is a random variable in any case, right? Consumption tomorrow is a random variable because it depends on the shock, so it's expected value always takes. It's the usual, you know, kernel pricing, okay? So that's efficiency, okay? That's in a miraculous world where everything works, right? And everybody trusts each other, because if you try to decentralize, this is an economy based on trust. Workers work on a promise. I will pay you the wage at night. Out of what? Out of the harvest. I will not cheat. So trust, observability, right? You observe what you produce, and so I pay you that. If there is asymmetric information, you do not trust that, right? So lots of assumptions to make this work. Right? So what is that I can do? I can try to do the history of Europe for the last 2,000 years in 20 minutes from the point of view of banking theory. One thing I can do is to think at this world without trust. In fact, it's interesting that this word without trust becomes relevant only when market transactions are possible. Because if I think of this word in medieval times or in slavery time, the labor problem goes away. And interesting enough, if I think of that in labor time, so here is the theory of the emergence of banking. Banking has to do, as you will see in a moment, with the ability of committing on contractual grounds among free individuals promises of future income. Okay? If resources, and in particular labor, is not market tradable, that is, you don't have control over your labor, there is command economy, as in a slavery economy or in a medieval economy, then borrowing lending becomes a lot less relevant. Because labor can be commanded to work. There is no need to make promises of future payment. I don't think it's by chance that the big development of credit and banks in the modern sense come around only after labor starts to free itself from medieval constraints. First in certain cities of Italy and then blah, 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 all across Europe. And there are trades and there are free workers and there are farmers and artisans that are free labor. You can invest, you can trade, and I can promise you, you can promise me, and so on. There's no lord that says, oh, no, you know, Michele does this and you do that. Shut them up, okay? And I don't think it's by chance that even in the Romans, banks existed, but only in the form of deposit. They were just safe deposit things for wealth. They did essentially no lending in the modern sense. I don't think it's by chance, but that's stuff for maybe economic historians. In a world like that, without bank, what's the problem? The problem that in a world like that, without banks, the worker has to be paid up front because he doesn't trust the landlord. If you read the classics, it's very interesting. In the classics, Smith, Ricardo, Marx, but also before, right, Cantillon, Mill, Petit, Turgot, and so on, what is they like to do something that often we don't do anymore. They distinguish between fixed and variable capital. And the variable capital is strictly payment of wages. And they say the capitalist needs to own the factory, the land, the machinery, and also have resources to pay workers up front while they produce. So there is an understanding, because they have in mind a kind of farming agriculture where output comes late, right? So I have to be able to anticipate. There is, now I forgot the name, there's a beautiful expression, I think, in the physio class, they call it les advances, something like that, I forgot. Okay? So, in that economy, what is that we use to pay wages up front? We use that. All right? So at night I put this, in the morning after, but that put a constraint on the allocation, right? Because now the wages, the wage payment, what is the wage payment? The wage payment is marginal utility consumption times the quantity of labor I buy, right? So the wage payment is bounded by this. We no longer have the optimality condition we had before, right? The fact that there are no variation market, but there is also no trust, no promises of future payment, nothing, that there is no credit, there is money. Now, one exercise one could do that I have been telling myself for 15 years, I'll do it. So I thought about this stuff 20 years ago in debating with Randy. He says, no, Randy, here's the theory of money and credit. Not. Obviously, this is perfectly compatible with an economy, right, in which there are a lot of these guys, each one produce a different coconut, and then they have to trade with coins. Right? I'm writing it as an aggregate representative agent, but you can easily write it an agent. Each one produce a different coconut, and then they go around at night trying to exchange coconuts with each other in exchange of coins. Nothing problematic about that. Right? Coin to coin, there's no credit. But this remains. Right? That's your medieval, late medieval economy of free farmers, no banks. Then the Fugger comes, then the Bardi comes, then the Rialto guys come. And what do? They have a technology. They have an very interesting technology. They say, look, I have double entry bookkeeping. I know actually how much of my promise of payment you use, and let me get hold of this. Okay? Let me get hold of that. I'll put it, it's gold. I put it in my palace, it's in the center of Venice, you can look at it. Right? You can come and take it anytime, that's the guarantee. I take it, and I have a very nice meal, so art is very big because I make very good wheat out of your grain. Very safe, okay? Actually, some of them eventually said, I have a very safe technology I lent to Philip II. And they fucked up, but you know, it's life. And the way you guys actually trade your labor is not with that. Let me get hold of the physical resource and use them productively. The way you trade stuff among you worker get paid by she landlord is with a check drawn on the Bardi's bank. The Bardis are reliable. The Bardi have a lot of possession. Worry. I have reputation in town. Now the wage bill is bounded above by this, right? Which is bigger than before. So that relaxes the constraint. Okay? Still, as before, it's not nearly optimal, as it doesn't satisfy. There's no relation between how much labor I get, the marginal utility of consumption, the disutility of labor, and the marginal productivity of labor. Right? That is some. Moreover, notice that in these circumstances, the allocation is not optimal even intertemporally, because remember, in the intertemporal allocation, I allocate to K and eta purely for portfolio reasons. Here I may end up putting too much in the Bardis because I want to make sure that tomorrow I hire labor. So it leads to a distortion also in that sense. But the Bardis are smart, and they say, you know, and here it would be nice to write a model of currency utilization withdrawal. I've studied a bit, but you know, it's worth doing. They notice that all this stuff they keep in their safe and gold, people don't use it. You know, at the end, all these checks, the checks stay around. People don't count cash the checks. So they issue check for this much, right? Because that's what's available at the end of the night. Remember, that's the trick, right? This is the day workers wants to pay paid here. And the output of the meal is available here at dinner time, together with ZT, F, KT, LT, right? And so the gain is that as long as the checks circulate in the economy for all the transactions during that period, I can leave the real resources in production, and you just transact with symbols. That's the big advantage with symbols. And before they were actually trading real grain. They took it out of production. Now they just trade symbols. You know, the housewives of these farmers go do the shopping with symbols. They right? But these guys noticed that in fact they use only 8% of the symbols. And then 1 minus 8%, and 100 minus 8%, remain in the bank. And so they say, you know, let me be careful. I'm going to lend a bit more. I'm going to lend this much. Right? And they just invent the bank multiplier. By the way, sovereignist dodos that tell you that there is a difference between commercial banks that have an interest rate that is justified because they lend real stuff and don't they create money for fiat, you know, out of blue, and central banks that don't are just stupid. Why? Because this is exactly the same thing, right? As long as I have that, right? Banks lend a lot more than the real resources you deposit with them. Right? We call it inside money. It's the process of money creation. In fact, over time, the development of the financial system has in fact meant that this thing has become bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm sorry, I'm actually writing it wrong. Why didn't you tell me? Do you realize I wrote it wrong?
Yeah, because now it's less.
What was the right thing? It's 1 over, right?
Yeah.
All right. Ding!
You're fast. It's not.
Huh? Yeah, I'm fast, but I'm also stupid sometimes. I don't pay attention. All right. Okay? That's the bank multiplier. That's the way it works. And it's actually, if you think, risky like every advanced technology, but extremely valuable socially, because it allows you to